Once upon a time, I did a video on how Cecil from Invincible would react to each of the S-class heroes from One Punch Man if he were a member of the Hero Association. And today, we're going to make a tier list placing these very heroes into categories for how useful Cecil would see them from his perspective while having the responsibility of protecting One Punch Man's world. Who can he rely on most to best serve humanity's interests and his own? Let's find out today with another fun, casual tier list. The tiers are as follows. Untrustable indicates that regardless of their effectiveness or power, Cecil is suspicious of their true intentions or cautious of trusting them with exploitable information. Expendable suggests that despite their usefulness, Cecil believes their overall effectiveness is not irreplaceable. Valued is for heroes who are not only strong, but excel in their field, and losing them would be of deep significance to the association. Asset is a unique tier, which doesn't necessarily mean they are higher than valued. Instead, it indicates that this hero offers a special benefit through their involvement with the Hero Association, which Cecil recognizes to his advantage. Inner Circle are the small few who Cecil keeps close for one reason or another, and will be explained in their areas. Finally, we have Trump Card, which recognizes these heroes as the most powerful saviors of Earth, those who can single-handedly turn the tide in the favor of humanity through their abilities. Starting off, we need to sentence our first hero to this tier list. Yes, it's Puri. We've seen in Invincible that Cecil is no stranger to putting bad people in positions to do good work, and so working with someone like Prisoner would be no shock to him. Granted, he's probably never worked specifically with someone who has a 10,000-year prison sentence for the types of crimes he commits, but Cecil's got ice in his veins, so a few hundred or even thousand criminal cases of grab ass aren't going to change his approach to the matter. What makes it even easier is how Prisoner, despite the convict status, is actually a real stand-up guy outside of that. He pops out of prison to save the day, he goes back in when told, shows up when asked, and throughout it all, he's a pretty easy guy to interact with, and he always puts his top effort into protecting colleagues and civilians alike. Cecil, if anything, would probably be less shocked at his crimes and more shocked at how reliable and motivated a criminal is to be a hero. Added in, Cecil will be aware of how valuable strong heroes are in a world where monsters are constantly attacking. The One Punch Man verse can't afford to be choosy about heroes when city-threatening monsters show up daily, and all being capable of some real havoc if not for the powerful heroes of the S-class who are not easy to come by. Despite this, Cecil would still know him to be a criminal at the end of the day, and when paired with him not being one of the stronger of the S-class, Prisoner would be a useful but expendable unit to him, which lands him in the expendable tier under Cecil's approach. Someone whose intentions are not so easy to gauge though are Drive Knights, and we know Cecil doesn't like a secret he's not in on. The effectiveness of Drive Knight would not be lost on Cecil. However, the weight of what he may be hiding or how secretive he appears to be would weigh heavier than any of Drive Knight's many successes out in the field. This would only be compounded further by how Cecil would not be able to spy upon him effectively. Drive Knight even blocks or interferes with electronics when in combat, making it seemingly impossible to record him during battle, which would only further grind Cecil's gears. Like I said in my Cecil reacts to the S-class video, it's not that Cecil would think Drive Knight is evil, only more that he's something of an unknown variable that he can't quite figure out. And that's enough to be a problem on Cecil's internal strategy board. Throw in the fact that if Cecil ever confronted him about this, or sought to subtly press him for information, Drive Knight's assured refusal or vague responses would just make matters worse. For these reasons, and what I said in the other video, he goes into the untrustable tier. Also, as clarification, since I know some people do skip my intro sometimes, Drive Knight being placed here doesn't mean I think all the heroes above him can whoop his ass. This row is because Cecil is wary of their veiled intentions, not because they are or aren't stronger than others. Silverfang would give him no such headaches, thankfully. This old boy is one of the strongest S-class heroes and isn't a pain to work with either, so it's happy days for Cecil. However, it's a little more than just that. Cecil would know that Bang is getting on in years and won't be able to karate chop in the name of humanity for much longer, given no man can defeat age itself. Cecil is a character who tries to find and take any reasonable opportunity to strengthen the defenses of humanity, and what better way than to train as many security forces and aspiring heroes in the art of water stream rock smashing fist. Bang always wants more students again, and Cecil wants to maximize effectiveness. He'd have training under Bang as a requirement for many rookie heroes and Hero Association security forces, because this will bolster overall power, turning one great hero into a specialist building resource. Because of this, Bang isn't in valued, but instead is in asset tier, a powerful hero who is open and experienced in training others and can be used to strengthen Hero Association's shield over humanity. However, Bang isn't the only character whose availability offers resources. We also have Tank Top Master. Now, it's no secret that Tank Top Master isn't one of the best performing S-Class heroes in the story of One Punch Man. However, it must not be forgotten that he is still strong and someone capable of defeating demon level threats. While you could be forgiven or even agreed with on selecting him for the expendable tier due to his overall effectiveness being on the lower side, I think Cecil would see it in a different way. Tank Top Master is an incredibly inspiring hero who provides influence and motivation within the Hero Association. Cecil wouldn't just view Tank Top Master as one hero, he'd view him as 15. See, with Tank Top Master comes the Tank Top Army. Master's charisma and strength is a boon of great use, which attracts, motivates, and empowers heroes to his passion. A passion which Cecil can use to defeat monsters and create public safety. Not only this, but the Tank Top Army isn't a fixed number either. This group can grow and through Master's leadership become stronger heroes than they were before, meaning Tank Top Master is an asset tier for attracting newer heroes and empowering current heroes, turning what should be one hero into more than a dozen, with the potential to grow thanks to a good positive influence being spread both internally and externally. He's good PR for the Hero Association outside and gives moral boosts inside. Much different in personality than Tank Top Master, however, is Flashy Flash. Being one of the most efficient and powerful S-Class heroes will not go unnoticed by Cecil. With his blinding speed and ability to handle many situations, it's a no-brainer that Cecil would view him as a hero he'd much rather have than not. These two won't be the best of friends, and they certainly won't be engaging in much small talk, but Flashy Flash will do what's expected of him, even if it comes with the classic One Punch Man ninja attitude. For this, Flashy Flash goes into the value tier. Cecil wouldn't be able to assume total control over him, since Flash would never see himself as any kind of lapdog for an executive, yet he still delivers impressive performances and is clearly aligned with humanity's interests. Genos is another great hero to have on hand for Cecil. He's essentially a Hero Association member's wet dream. He's very active, he's very eager to defeat monsters, he's happy to fight alone or in a team, and he comes back even stronger than before whenever he loses a fight. The only real problem for Cecil would be making sure that Genos doesn't bite off more than he can chew, which is a very Genos thing to do. As long as Cecil paces him correctly, he's got a monster eradicating machine on hand for literally any kind of situation, who only ever seems to get more and more powerful as time goes by, all while being completely and utterly dedicated to the elimination of anything which may threaten humanity. If you hypothetically gave Cecil the means to make a cyborg, it'd probably end up a little something like Genos. Value tier for the demon cyborg, for obvious reasons. And if Cecil wasn't an appreciator of samurai before this job, he would be after. Atomic Samurai would be a highly effective and incredibly useful hero to have on hand. He's called the world's strongest swordsman for a reason, after all. Given that this man would slice and dice anything Cecil sent him after, he would likely come to see Atomic Samurai as a very reliable closer, someone who will undoubtedly eradicate any problem he's sent to deal with. Given his discipline and reputation, Atomic would likely not ever cause Cecil any problems, and added to the fact that he has 3 powerful A-class heroes with him at all times would only make Cecil's confidence go higher. Since Atomic is one of the strongest heroes, this all couples together to put him in the value tier. Cecil knows he's one of the best heroes there is, and he never says no to cutting a threat into 1,000 pieces, which is exactly what Cecil likes to hear. You could argue him for asset tier 2, since he has 3 disciples by association. However, I feel a little differently about this, since that number doesn't grow like the Tank Top Army, and Atomic isn't a constant motivator or recruiter of aspiring or current heroes outside of his small group. So his disciple attachments is more of an isolated addition rather than a fluid, all-welcoming one like the Tank Top Army. Pig God is something of an acquired taste for many fans, which is ironic since this guy will eat anything regardless of the taste, but in truth he is a wonderful human being with a great hero mentality. Cecil will obviously think highly of him as a hero and recognize his unique talent for dealing with hostile situations. However, Pig God, as far as we know, is not one of the most powerful S-Class heroes, nor is he someone who brings forth as significant an influence to humanity's defense as some of the other S-Class heroes do. If Pig God were to ever go down, I don't think Cecil would see it as the end of the world or a particularly catastrophic signal. Replacing someone like Flashy Flash, Atomic, or Silverfang would be incredibly difficult, but Pig God is not very high on the totem pole for S-Class power when compared compared to such names. I think this would put him in expendable tier, if only just for him not offering the same level of destructive power or targeted lethality that numerous other S-class heroes can. Another strange hero who would be far more difficult to replace, however, is Watchdog Man. While Cecil will have some frustration at the fact that he can't seem to turn Watchdog Man into a search and destroy type of dog, he will begrudgingly accept the fact that Watchdog Man decides to sit tight in the most dangerous city of all, and not only sit there, but keep it 100% monster free. Cecil would only be willing to accept Watchdog Man's territorial stubbornness purely because, by the nature of his existence, he keeps the city with the highest monster threat level average amazingly safe. This essentially takes an entire city, and the most problematic city for that matter, completely off the board for Cecil to worry about, and allows him to focus all efforts on other cities, since Watchdog Man always has Q City on lock. For this, I have him in the asset tier. Watchdog Man offers a unique situation as an ever-constant protection for a singular city, but offers little value elsewhere. Without him, however, the most danger-prone city suddenly becomes a massive headache for the Hero Association. So sometimes, you just gotta let a dog mark its territory. Someone who could have been asset tier or even trump card tier, yet ends up in neither, is Metal Knight. As we all know, Metal Knight's inventions, engineering, and constructions have been incredibly useful for the Hero Association. However, a man as secret as Metal Knight with as much involvement as he has, coupled further with the countless unsupervised amounts of firepower hidden away, would give Cecil sleepless nights. I won't go into it as much since I did initially in the other video regarding the S-Class, but Cecil would not like the idea of someone having as much nuclear power as Metal Knight does without an authorizing body keeping some kind of check on it. This doesn't help with how Metal Knight can be difficult to cooperate with, and I could see Cecil and Bothway butting heads hard and often. Cecil wouldn't have the full authority to make a play against him, though he'd certainly try his very best to learn as much about Metal Knight as is possible, and he'd never reveal his full hand to him unless he knows he's getting the same in return from the genius hero. I wouldn't be surprised if he even got someone to try and reverse engineer any of Metal Knight's tech found within the Hero Association HQ, or had someone monitoring Metal Knight's communications at all times in a bid to try and pinpoint his location. All of this leads to an untrustable tiering, but of course, between myself and you the viewers, we know objectively outside of Cecil's perspective that he'd be asset or above. For these next three, I'm going to bunch them together, and this is the inner circle tier. We're looking at Super Alloy Darkshine, Zombie Man, and Child Emperor. Cecil knows he can't do everything on his own, and that's where his inner circle comes in. People he trusts for certain tasks he can't achieve himself, and sometimes those tasks may be things classified to him and them alone. Zombie Man is the first. His specialties lie in espionage and investigative work. Whenever Cecil needs something looked into on the down low, Zombie Man is his agent of information. Whether he needs somebody followed, something tracked down, or a man on the inside of a situation, Zombie Man will be Cecil's eyes and ears in the places Cecil can't get to himself, or wouldn't want to be seen in. Darkshine is his bodyguard. Whenever Cecil is going somewhere dangerous, or meeting with those who may do him harm if discussion turns into sticks and stones, Darkshine will be there with him. As a hero with an impenetrable body and a punch which can splatter monsters, this good-natured muscle man is both the perfect sword and shield for Cecil. Given Darkshine's friendly and understanding disposition and his enthusiasm to help the Hero Association, he'll be someone Cecil trusts to have around, and while he probably won't talk shop with him that much since Darkshine isn't an intellectual, he'll be the powerhouse who keeps Cecil alive from those who mean to violently tamper with his goal to keep humanity safe. Finally, we have Child Emperor. Cecil knows how to play the long game, and he's good at it. Part of that long game, keeping Child Emperor on side. This kid is the future of the Hero Association. At 10 years old, he's already an S-class hero and one of the most intelligent characters in the entire series. Cecil will seek to guide him into becoming the next, well, him, probably. Keeping him close means he'll hold an influence over him which will stop any nefarious outside interference or possible distractions, and Cecil will effectively try to steer him into becoming a version of Metal Knight who he can trust, someone with the brains to fight back against any mastermind who may work against them in the future. Inner circle tier for the three of them: Cecil's muscles, eyes, and brain within the Hero Association. I've already spoken more about how Tatsumaki would get along, or wouldn't, with Cecil in the other video, so I don't want to go over it again too much, but Cecil would know that there's no better available option to have on hand than the terrible tornado herself. Despite their arguments and lack of chemistry, it wouldn't be lost on Cecil that she's one of humanity's greatest defenses against all manner of danger. Given how versatile and powerful her psychic ability is, Tatsumaki will be Cecil's ace in the hole. Despite how difficult Tatsumaki can be in terms of her personality, something which cannot be doubted is her dedication to being a hero. Cecil wouldn't have any problem with Tatsumaki on a deep level because he knows through her words and her actions that she fights for humanity and has no interest in ever turning her back against a world which needs her. She goes into the trump card tier with ease, and just because the two of them wouldn't get along, it doesn't mean that Cecil would not recognize her unshakable motivation for destroying monsters and being a shining example of humanity's might. Just like this other guy named King. Now, this is where we all start to argue. Some of you think King is figured out by Cecil immediately. Others think King's comedy factor wins out and Cecil thinks he's incredibly strong. The way I look at it, Cecil is an omniscient and he makes mistakes and miscalculations in his own verse. The spying thing for why he'll find out doesn't really track either. Plenty of smart, intelligent, and paranoid characters in One Punch Man all have more than enough reason to figure King out, sometimes even being right next to him during these very moments, and it still doesn't happen. That's just the nature of it. Even when a bunch of assassins were sent after King, he still somehow got out of it. What you really need to ask yourself is this: is Cecil more clever than King is lucky? That's what it comes down to really, because in a world where King is known as the strongest man, where surveillance is everywhere, where he's been in life or death situations and not only survived but came out looking like the strongest of all time in the face of those who are smarter than Cecil himself, you have to assume King's gimmick is going to win out in a One Punch Man setting. In an Invincible setting, sure, I'll give you that. Cecil will figure it out. But in One Punch Man, he won't. Or at least, he won't for a good while. Anyways, trump card tier for obvious reasons if Cecil thinks he is the GOAT, or asset tier if Cecil figures out that King is a cheat code to summon Saitama. I just know despite this video being as long as it is, 90% of the comment section is purely going to be people saying Cecil would figure King out. Last is up next. I don't want to waste too much time here, but essentially at first, Cecil would probably be frustrated at Blast since he doesn't have access to the #1 hero in a world where cities are always being attacked. It's enough to give any Hero Association member with responsibilities an aneurysm. However, Cecil would soon come to understand and appreciate the weight of what Blast does when he finally finds out. Knowing that Blast's absence essentially means Earth doesn't get obliterated from outer space or some mystical dimension before anyone has a chance to do anything about it will get him on board with Blast's quest pretty quick. Knowing Cecil, he'd want as many updates as possible. Someone like him would absolutely not be comfortable with the idea of Earth's fate being completely out of his hands, but Blast's work has to be left to Blast for the time being. Trump card for Blast. Cecil wouldn't like his lack of participation in the fight against God, yet he'll accept it for now and understand Blast's value. And finally, last but not least, Metal Bat. With how powerful Metal Bat is combined with his young age of 17, Bat will be something similar to Child Emperor for Cecil's perspective. He's young, he's talented, he's strong as hell, and has all the makings of a great hero for many years to come. Of course, his attitude is a little rough, but Cecil's a good judge of character for the most part and would be able to see that Bat's energy is always put in the direction of slamming monsters with his baseball bat and ensuring the weak are protected. I believe Cecil would be pretty enamored with how Metal Bat never seems to stay down and only gets more and more powerful the harder the fight gets. So he may even begin to nudge Metal Bat into training routines and regular testing to try and turn Metal Bat into the next great hero so he can protect the Earth for the years ahead. If Child Emperor is the future of the Hero Association's brain, Cecil may think of Metal Bat as the future of the Hero Association's strength, a hero who can take anything and still stay standing. Value tier for Metal Bat, because whether he reaches such heights or not, he's a powerful slugger as it is and will only get better within the several years coming up in his career. That about wraps it up. Don't forget to go and check out the previously mentioned Cecil reacts to the S-Class Heroes video. It's a fun one, and there's more Invincible related content on my One Punch Man channel here too, so take a look if it suits you. Like the video, join the members only Discord to chat more with me on these things, and see you soon.